I should just leave. Like after that, right? I don't think I need this because they mic me up. And anyone who knows me knows I don't really need a microphone at all, no matter how big the room is. We can be in the Staples Center. We can be anywhere. I do want to point out that my friend Felix there, I had no idea he would be here tonight. I'm still a little bit stunned that he's here. I guess that's the best way to put it. I had absolutely no idea my friend serving in the military would show up tonight to introduce me here tonight. So thanks for being here. But I will say one other thing. When Felix joined the Army, we had a plan to take over the world together. Sounds lofty, I know, but I think we had a shot at it. And Felix promised me, he assured me, that once he served his time in the Army, he'd come out and we could launch our plan. And I said, okay, that's great. And I began working on it, because I think I had, what, like a 4-year enlistment? Does that sound right? And then at the end of the 4 years, I get this, I mean, I don't want to act like I got anything. I saw, I think it was like a Facebook post, a picture of him signing like an extension. And like, I didn't even get consulted on that. Like, we're taking over the world, Felix. So, yeah, small delay. So, maybe this is the first step. I'm glad to see you. Thanks so much for introducing me. It's a totally big surprise. I'd also like to take a moment and thank a few people for being here. I want to start by saying a big thank you to Rabobank and to Julia as well. Without support of businesses like Rabobank and, of course, people like you, there wouldn't be a forum for us to do anything like this. There wouldn't be scholarship recipients. And there wouldn't be anywhere for me to impart what I guess I'm supposed to call wisdom. I didn't get a scholarship from anyone to anywhere. So what am I doing up here? Right? And more importantly than that, well, I guess when I started thinking about the whole scholarship and you guys getting scholarships and me not getting scholarship, I started thinking that's not exactly true. I had my own pathways to success. I had my own one future Coachella Valley. I'm not from the desert. I didn't go to any of the high schools here. I don't have a rooting interest in La Quinta versus Palm Desert. I tend to forget what Cat City's mascot is, lions. All right? But I don't have a rooting interest. I just know enough to not say I like Palm Desert when I'm at La Quinta and vice versa, right? The minimum to get by, not get lynched. But my pathway to success, my one future Coachella Valley, was my mom and dad. I mean, it's incredible for me right now to have an opportunity to speak here in front of a group of people. I live here in the Coachella Valley. I live in La Quinta. My office is in Palm Desert at the corner of Fred Waring and Washington, right by the tennis garden. I mean, we all know where that is, generally speaking. And here I am giving a conversation like this in a room full of 300 people. Usually when I talk like this, I don't know anybody. I know people here. I'm going to expose myself to people I share time with on boards. I'm going to supposedly be inspirational in front of my mother. My mom is here. Frankly, the moment I realized my mom could be here tonight, I feel like the microphone should go to her, right? I was born in the United States. She was not. I had every advantage to get myself to this stage that I could possibly think of, right? I have a mother who's a physician, a father who has a master's degree but doesn't work in the field in which he's educated. I got an older sister who graduated from Loyola Marymount University, 7 years older than me, so it's not like we were in school at the same time or anything. I had a lot of opportunity, but I didn't really think of it that way. She's just my mom, right? But I would be crazy to not take a moment and just say that I would love to have her do this, to hear what she has to say. You know, I'm a male. One advantage right there, right? Her medical school class, she was the only female. I wasn't the only male pretty much anywhere, right? So with that, I just want to take a moment and say, thanks, Mom. Thanks for everything. I don't usually get a public forum to get to do that, so Thank you. My sister lives in Minnesota. She's not here, thank God. She'd be heckling me from the back, throwing things at me. When I told her I was giving this inspirational speech, I choke it out every time, inspirational talk, she said, why? But without her holding my hand at night, back when I was scared of the dark, I probably wouldn't get up here either, right? So shout out to my sister. I also have the pleasure of teaching a couple classes here at Cal State San Bernardino. And Carol, where are you? Where are you, Carol? There you are. Carol's one of my students from this most recent quarter. And it's my understanding without her, I guess, either suggesting my name or throwing me under the bus, depending on how you want to look at it, I wouldn't be up here, so thank you, Carol. I have 6 of my former students here. The class is only 29, so 6, count Carol, that's 7. That's like more than 20%. They don't have to be here. I think maybe we're doing something right, right? I'm proud of that. Thank you guys for coming tonight. I appreciate it. So I guess with sort of the soft talk out of the way, it's time for me to make one last apology and then get this show on the road. My last apology is this. As soon as I talked to Ernie and Christina and agreed to do this, for whatever reason, the analogies of what I was going to do tonight started pouring out of me. And they all had something to do with heat. I'm going to bring the fire. I'm going to burn that place down. It's going to be hot. Sorry about that. So with that, I do want to say, that's about the last soft thing I'm going to say to you guys tonight. I have a little bit more of the, I don't know, kick 'em in the teeth approach. You heard I'm an attorney. That might have something to do with it. But I wasn't always an attorney. You know, there was a time that I was just a regular high school kid, black hair. Still had the goatee, though. Part of being, you know, Middle Eastern, maybe you get the facial hair early. And of course, I was working anything I could back in those days. There came a time where, it came time to apply to colleges. And I was pretty sure of myself. I had a great experience in high school. As you can see or might assume, I don't really have a problem public speaking. I was the pep rally guy. I mean, I still run into people who point at me and say, "You were the pep rally guy." I was the pep rally guy. In the back of the yearbook, I had my picture taken with most likely to host Singled Out. That might date me a little bit, but there used to be a dating game on MTV called Singled Out, and I won the prestigious honor of most likely to host it. Based on the fact that none of you know what that show is, I think that pretty much kind of tells it, or maybe some of my age group might still know what it is, right? So, but I had good grades. I did pretty good on the SAT. In fact, you know, there was a government teacher that I really wanted to like me. And I wanted him to like me because his classroom was decorated in USC stuff. And I wanted to go to USC. I don't know why exactly I wanted to go to USC, but when I was small, I made this crazy declaration, and it went something like this. I want one of 2 jobs. I either want to be the guy on the back of the garbage truck, not the guy driving, the guy on the back that grabs the stuff and throws it in, puts the trash thing. They don't do it anymore, if you're wondering what I'm talking about. There's a machine that does it. Wait a second. I either want that job, or I want to be the judge on the the judge on the People's Court. I want to be Judge Wapner, or the guy on the back of the trash truck. Lucky for me, my dad didn't make me, he didn't beat me into one choice, if you will, at that point. But I have a feeling he had a rooting interest between those 2 choices. So you fast forward to my government teacher. I won't use his name because I don't want to burn the guy, right? But a friend of mine didn't like government, and I loved it. And he asked me, "Will you help me do the homework?" And I said, "Sure." And if you know anything about helping people do homework in high school, it goes something like this. You do their homework. So I would do my homework. I would do his homework. I would write my essay. I would write his essay. My apologies to the educators in the room. It's just the truth. And I would get B's. And my friend would get A's. In a weird way, it still made me feel good, but I knew I was getting a raw deal. I applied to only 3 schools out of high school. USC, the place I wanted to go. Florida State University. Mind you, I'm from Los Angeles, but they have a big football team and a horse, and the guy rides in, the thing's on fire. It's pretty cool. Applied to Florida State University. And I applied to the University of Arizona because a really good friend of mine was thinking about going there, and if I applied there, my parents would let me go visit with him. So I applied to the University of Arizona. Figured I'd make a great weekend out of it. Next thing you know, you're sitting there and you're waiting for those, I mean, you guys have all been there, right? You're waiting for the, I guess now it's like email, but back in the day, you were waiting for a letter in your mailbox, right? Mail before the E took over, right? And so every day, I would rush out to the mailbox. I knew I was pretty close, borderline student, but I was the pep rally guy. Everybody liked me. I had my picture taken more than any other student in my senior year high school yearbook. How do I know that? There's an index at the back, and everybody would count how many they had, and then be like, I got 11. And I was like, I got 47. They're like, you're the pep rally guy, it doesn't count, right? But hey, made me feel like I was important. I was somebody. Like maybe I was here, and the world went like this. I never heard back from Florida State University because my dad said, you're not going to Tallahassee, quit wasting everybody's time. I'll let you keep the $50 if you don't mail it off in the application. You got a deal, Pops. $50 in the pocket. Bye-bye, Florida State. University of Arizona sent me this big, beautiful package. Welcome, you're a Wildcat. I pushed it to the side. I was waiting for one thing. My acceptance package to USC. I'll never forget the day that I walked out to the mailbox, just like all the other days, and by walk, I mean full sprint. Right? Out to get the mail. I ripped open the mailbox door, and there was like 2 or 3 envelopes, and one was from USC. But when you get in, you get a big pamphlet, and I knew that because that's what my friends got, and I got this envelope. I was like, uh-oh. Well, maybe they just ran out of big pamphlets. So I ripped open the envelope. I don't remember exactly the words because the tears were already pouring down. Something like, thanks, but no thanks. And the tears just... It's been like, I don't know, 100 years now. I feel like I could cry right now. The tears just poured down my face. I couldn't even go inside the house. I just fell to the curb and cried and cried and cried. Till my dad came outside and said, what are you doing? Nothing. Fold the envelope in half. Right? I'm fine. He didn't say a word, but I think he knew. Went back inside the house. Started thinking about different ways this could have been a mistake, right? It's got to be a mistake. My last name's hard to spell. I mean, I had the GPA according to the little piece of paper. I had the SAT score according to the piece of paper. I was the pep rally guy. Did I mention I was the pep rally guy? And they still rejected me. So I went inside the house and I didn't tell anybody. A week passed, 2 weeks passed, 3 weeks passed. Still hadn't told anybody. My sister, no dummy's like, so did you hear from USC? And I'm like, no. She's like, no? I'm like, no. And she's like they said no or like you haven't heard yet? And I'm like, hey. So she knew, but she didn't say anything. I actually don't think I ever told my mom and dad that I didn't get into USC. We just never really talked about it again. And so I said, I want to go to junior college. And my dad looked me dead in the eye and said, hell no. You got into the University of Arizona. You went there and visited. You said it wasn't so bad. you'll go to the University of Arizona. And I said, no. So I have a Persian dad. Sarah, I think you know what I'm talking about. I've come to realize Persian dads aren't that different from Hispanic dads. Like, I don't know what the phrase for timeout is in Farsi, just like I don't know it in Spanish, and probably neither do you. Because we don't really roll with timeouts, you know what I mean? Timeout is like me ducking. Like, yo, Dad, timeout, right? So after a short objection by me, Wildcats, here we come. My parents put me on an airplane to Arizona, sort of moved in by myself. I didn't think that was a big deal until I got there and all the other parents were there. Thought that was kind of weird. Persian parents are kind of hard asses, though. I don't know why. Might be because they're from Iran. But it was all right. We figured it out. I knew how to make a bed. I knew how to put a stereo together. What else do you need in college dorm room? Computer. And I started going to class, and I hated it. Pep rally guy lost his mojo. I used to just kind of walk to class all slowly, take my backpack, just go to class. Hey, Arizona's football team sucks. Huh. Off to class. I hear the basketball team's going to be pretty good this year. Great. Then someone said, well, why don't you join a fraternity? Maybe it'll make you like it more. So I said, okay. And then it dawned on me. I don't like it here. Why would I join a fraternity here? So I sat back and I thought about it. And I thought, here's what I'll do. I'll find a fraternity that they have at USC. And I'll join that fraternity. And we'll figure out a way to one day be a fraternity member at USC. Sounds like a plan. I only have myself. I don't have anybody else to call and run this idiotic plan by. So off we went to Fraternity Rush, and there's about 6 or 7 houses that shared at both schools, so we picked from one of those houses. My high school guidance counselor's son was in that fraternity. It's a sign. Or a coincidence. So I joined that fraternity, and it changed nothing. Still hated it. Now I just had a fraternity house that I didn't really want to go to very much. And so we just kept kind of loafing through life. And the funny thing is now today, because that's about the last time I can talk about loafing through life, I see people all the time loafing through life. And I don't think my story is going to maybe reach out and touch every single person in here. For some of you, this maybe isn't the right path. But for maybe 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, maybe it is. But for me, loafing through life just didn't feel right. So I started taking my meal card and selling my food for cash. Right? You know this hustle. You get like $15 a day or a meal or whatever it is. I don't remember. It's been a while for me now. And then you stand by the register and you go to strangers and you say, hey, pick out anything you want. You give me 10 bucks cash. I'll give you the $15 a swipe. And they're like, yeah. I mean, he's laughing. He's like, I do it. You know what I'm talking about? There you go. See? That's what I'm saying. It's a real hustle. The hustle's real. I'm not making this stuff up. I was doing this in 96, my friend. 1996. So, ran the food cart, saved about I think it was about 150 bucks. And I bought a plane ticket from Tucson back to LA. I figured I'd come home, tell my mom and dad, I hate it there. I'm going to get out of there. I'm going to turn things around, and they're going to support this idea, and everything will be great. Who thinks this is a great idea? Everybody, let's do it. Fly home. I mean, first of all, first time in the airport without my mom and dad. So it was like, okay, so now that I'm here, how do I get home now? Right? We didn't have Uber, all right? So I shuttle my butt home. I get through the door. Mom's at work, but dad's there. And dad has like, how did you get here face? Right? So I told my dad, I want to talk to you and mom about something very important. I'm going to wait till mom gets home. My dad kind of looked at me, questioning. And I said, but in the meantime, I'm going to go see one of my friends real quick. So I went over to my friend's place, and to his mom and dad, vomited up my plan. They didn't say anything. I had a feeling I might be in trouble. I went home that night. My mom gets home pretty late. OBGYN life, if you know anything about that, the hours, let's just say people don't give birth from like 9 to 5, right? So mom came home that night. I won't forget, it wasn't that late. It was like 9-ish, which in our world wasn't that late. And mom sat down. I think they knew it was coming. And I said, I don't like Arizona. I want to drop out of school. My mom got up and left the table. It's okay. My dad went quiet. I mean, Sarah knows this. And if there's any other people here who have similar parents, probably know. It's like, when they don't say anything, it is so much worse than when they just start swinging or start yelling at you. It's like you just know you did something wrong. But when they just sit there quiet, it's like, well, say something. My dad said that we'd talk about it in the morning, and the next day they told me, hell no. You're not making this huge mistake. You're not making the biggest mistake of your life. Not only are you getting your ass back on an airplane, we already bought you a plane ticket. It leaves in 2 hours. Super shuttle will be here in 10 minutes. It's like, wait, what? Before I knew it, I was back in the airport with all the same stuff that I brought, walking on to an America West flight. And when the door closed, I started to cry. What the hell am I doing on this plane back to Tucson? I mean, it's funny because it's Tucson, right? It makes it sound extra bad. Like, what am I going to do in Tucson? We went back to Tucson, and we got first semester grades, and they weren't very pretty, B+, A- student, not when he's lost the mojo, right? I couldn't do it. I saw the report card. It said University of Arizona at the top. Had a bunch of mediocre grades, and I didn't care. For the first time in my life, I didn't care. So what? Who cares? I'm stuck. Next semester started loafing to class again. Here we are. Hopefully I'll graduate in 4 years. It won't be so bad, right? Think about that. I could do this for another 3.5 years. But I couldn't do it. One day in particular, let's just say I live in the Coachella Valley because I hate the rain. I guess it's more than hating the rain. I hate to get wet without giving my permission. I think most people join me in that feeling, but you don't take it out on Mother Nature. I take it out on everybody, including Mother Nature. I don't like to get wet without permission. I don't give that permission either, right? I don't like to get wet, like a cat maybe, right? So I'm walking to class, sunny day, 90 degrees, Tucson, maybe February, maybe March, not sure exactly. But all I know is I got to class and all the pretty girls had umbrellas. It's a bad sign. I think we heard you mention the hair thing, right? Women they're just not going to let their hair go bad, you know what I mean? They're not just going to go down without a fight. They all had their umbrellas, and I knew something was going to happen. I knew, what do all these people know that I don't know? It involves an umbrella. And we sat in class. I'm pretty sure it was astronomy even. And I started to hear the rainfall outside. And I didn't like it very much. Needless to say, class ended. All the umbrellas popped open. Mine didn't. I didn't have one. And as I walked out of class, each one of those droplets was like a bucket of water being poured on my head. Just boom, boom, boom. And as I walked, I felt like I was starting to stomp. Puddle, splash, 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 splash. I was getting pissed off. Like, the water was hitting me, and I'm like, I'm getting wet. I don't like to get wet. I'm in Arizona. I don't want to be in Arizona. I'm a wildcat. I'm not a wildcat. Instead of going to my dorm, well, I think I did. I went to my dorm, and I went on the internet, and I looked up how do you withdraw from all of your classes with W's. Like, you know what I mean? How do I get the hell out of here? My man knows what I did. I went right back to the food station. I started swiping that card like it was going out of style. I raised up the money, except this time I didn't fly my own self home. I flew my friend out. We loaded all my stuff in the car. We took the report card with the W's. I checked out of my dorm room. It was done. There was nothing she could do about it. We drove. It's a long ride. Let me tell you, it's a long ride when you're conniving and sneaky and know your dad's going to give you a world-class beating. It's a long ride home, but we made that ride home, and I'll never forget, my friend asked me, drop me off at home. I don't want to go to your house. Just drop me off at home. It was like, I dropped him off at home. I went home, and I walked in the door, that same astonished look on my dad's face. What the... See, again, Persian parents, they're not cussing in English. They're cussing in Farsi. So it doesn't really make sense, but my dad's like, what are you doing here, a-hole? Let's just put it in English, right? And I told my dad, I'm done. I dropped out of Arizona. I'm going to go to junior college. I'm going to take a double load so I don't miss out on time. And I'm going to apply to USC, and I'm going to get in. I'm going to get straight A's. I'm going to do whatever it takes. Because I don't want this Arizona thing. My dad looked me dead in the face, and he said to me, no, this is not how this works. And I said, this is how this works. And my dad told me, then I will not speak to you until you get your ass back into another university. And I looked at him and I said, but I'm going to be able to live here, right? And he said, yeah. And I said, I'll take it. Mom came home. I was a little worried about what Mom's reaction would be. But Mom looked me in the face, and she said, is this what you're going to do? And I said, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And she said, and you think you could do this? And I said, I could do this. She said, well, then do it. If you don't do it, we'll be disappointed. But if you do it, we'll know you could have done it all along. I know that's what she said because it stuck with me. I went straight to the dean at Harbor College, and I said to him, I just dropped out of the University of Arizona. I know it's too late to add classes now, but I want to add classes as soon as I can, and I'd like to take a double load right away because I plan to transfer into USC, and I don't want to lose that time. And he looked at me like, he kind of said that, if I had $1 for every time I heard that, and then he stopped himself and said, wait, actually nobody really walks in here and says that. And he said, but I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not just going to sign it off on you because that's a lot of work. And I'm not so sure you could do it. How about this? Why don't you take a regular load, you bring me straight A's, and we'll talk. And I said, no. I bring you straight A's, and it's a done deal. And he said, fine. You bring me straight A's, it's a done deal. Junior college, straight A's, I got this, no problem. We handed in, locked it up, straight A's. Went right back to the dean. We were like before Christmas break. Grades hadn't even come out yet. I'm like, hey, dean. More like me just, right? I got straight A's, Dean. I want to take a double load in the spring. And he said, well, even a double load in the spring is not going to help you catch up time. And I said, well, I'll take a double load in the summer too. And then when USC knocks out certain classes, I'll only lose 1 year. I won't lose 2. And the dean's like, I think you're crazy, but if you keep bringing me A's, I won't stop you. And I said, all right, you got a deal. And I'm not exactly sure what the grades were, but they were good enough where he didn't stop me. Summertime came around, we took a double load in summer, and we applied to be a transfer student to USC. I got a letter from Brown University offering me a partial scholarship to go there. That's an Ivy League school, but I wanted to go to USC. I already took a little detour. I didn't have time for that. So I wrote my application letter to USC, and I'm apologizing a little bit that this sounds like a commercial for them, bashing Arizona, lifting up USC. But for me, that's what it was. And so I applied to USC, and I basically told them, this is your second chance, USC. And lucky for me, they took me up on my offer, and I got that big packet that I always wanted. And I cried again, right? The interesting thing for me about this story is that's a long way to say that was the start. That was the start. Arizona, applying to college out of high school was the last time I let life tell me something. And I think that's in many ways why Ernie, Christina, Carol brought me here tonight, because that's a long way for me to say. At first, I was okay with just doing whatever life gave me. And then I kind of realized I could live my own life. I mean, it's crazy, living the dream, right? I could live the dream. I could do this. So the first thing I did when I went to USC, I went straight and I bought my class ring, and I wear it every day still. It's kind of a, you think I'm lying, look at this tan line. Look at this awkwardly shaped circle. The first thing I did was go buy my class ring, put a date on it, a degree on it, because, you know, they're going to charge you more to change it, and we weren't going to pay to change it. We were locking in the date. We were setting that goal. We were making it real. So yeah, we did this, of course. I mean, they wouldn't bring me here if I dropped out and failed, right? So of course we did this. And you better believe we didn't take it easy at USC. We didn't go with the flow at USC. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. I knew I wanted to go to law school. I knew there was no way in hell we were crying in a mailbox ever again. So I worked my ass off at USC. I worked very, very hard there. I'm proud to say it. I took it very seriously. I was that guy who signed up for the 8 a.m. classes. Yeah, I know, right? I know. That was me. You're like, why do they even have 8 a.m. classes? For me. And so we applied to, I think, 8 law schools. And I'm skipping one little small detail, which I definitely don't want to skip. And I always skip when I tell my own story. And it's that 3 days before the ad drop deadline, I got a note from my counselor that said I was like an East Asian cultures class away from graduating. What? What? East Asian cultures? What? And so I went to my counselor immediately and I said, well, I've already got applications into law school. Like, what? What are you talking about? And she said, no, you gotta take an East Asian cultures class. And so how many East Asian culture classes still had space? 1. And I think we learned about, and I say I think because I took it pass fail, and we learned about like Buddhist temples or something. And I literally did what I had to do to pass. It was so far above me, right? But it was just another chance, another dart the world threw at like screwing things up for me. You know, like I could have got that note and been like, what? And not worried about it and screwed everything up. But like, I was too smart for that. I'd already been through too much. I'd already hoed too much road, right? And so we went to law school. I went to Loyola Law School. I got into all 8 of the schools that I applied to, and I chose the one that I wanted to go to. For me, that was Loyola Law School. I'm very happy with my choice, right? I got a great education there. And then when you're finished, you get a diploma, and it's a great big event. And I always like to point out, there's this amazing picture of a good friend of mine named Jeff, who graduated with me in law school. And his mother and father are crying. It looks like he might have died, and someone took their picture. They're just, his mother's mascara is pouring down her face. The father is like, looks like he can't stand up. And in the background are my mom and dad just kind of standing there like, looking like they're waiting for the bus. And the reason is because these two, they never let up. They never let up. My dad asked me at graduation of law school if I could go get my master's. For those of you not paying attention, bachelor's, master's, doctorate, Dad, why would I go get that? Well, you don't think you know everything, do you? Of course I don't. Of course I don't. Came time to study for the bar exam. 3-day test. Look to your left, look to your right. One of you is not passing. They actually say that to you. Bunch of mean SOBs. I studied so hard, literally a patch of hair fell out of the back of my head. You guys laugh, I freaked out. The guy that sits behind me in bar study class says, I hope you didn't pay for that haircut. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, there's a big old hole in the back of your head. I'm like, what? And I looked and there was like the tip of a pencil. You could see my scalp. And like a week later, it was the size of a dime. And a week after that, it was like a quarter. I went home to my mom and I'm like, Mom, I know you're a gynecologist, but is this okay? And she said, no, that's not okay. Go see this dermatologist. So I went to the dermatologist and I'm sitting there in the lobby waiting room, flipping through my bar study book. Contracts, offer, consideration. Trying to remember all this stuff. The bar is coming. It waits for no one. Dermatologist, I walk in the, I'm sitting in the waiting room waiting for him. Now I'm sitting in the exam room waiting for him. I'm still reading my bar study book, right? I'm that scared. He comes in and says to me, I see some hairs falling out of your head. Yes, it has. Are you experiencing any abnormal stress in your life? I'm like, listen, Dr. Abrosov, There's a bar books on my lap right now as we're talking. Like I'm kind of studying as we're talking even. It's like, come see me when you're done with the bar exam. If the hair hasn't grown back, we'll deal with it then. I said, well, what do you mean? He says, well, it's either something really, really bad or it'll grow back. And I'm like, let's go back to studying 10 hours a day. Hopefully we'll die. So go back to studying for the bar, take the bar. I'm proud to say I passed the first shot. I told my father, it's a good thing I passed the first try because I'd never take it again. I gave it everything I had, including a patch of hair. For the record, it's grown in nicely. I'm pleased to say it was only stress and nothing more serious. So that's a pretty good story, right? We could just stop right there. But then I met this girl at USC. I kind of skipped over that part. She's from Palm Desert. I figured we'd give it a go here. There's no way I'd find a job. We'll give it 4 months. If I don't have a job in 4 months, we'll move to, I don't know, somewhere with a beach. She says, okay, fine. 3 days before the 120th day, on day 117, I got offered a job at a law firm here in the desert. And I kind of looked at her like, do I have to take this, you know? But I'm happy to say 14 years later, I'm very happy that I did take that job. I'm very happy that we've decided to land in the desert. I worked at that law firm for about 2.5 years, maybe about 3.5 years. And I knew that working for someone else wasn't for me. All that stuff washed off in Tucson, Arizona. So I got to a point where, make a long story short, I could feel that ceiling. I could feel it. Couldn't stretch out anymore. I was hitting kind of the max of where I was going with that office. So I started talking to my wife about maybe opening my own office. She told me she wanted to get pregnant. We all want a lot of things in life, honey. But I told her this statement. I said, before you have a baby, I'm going to quit my job and open my own law practice. And she kind of said, so you want to have a baby? And I was like, I'm going to open my own law practice before we have a baby. If you notice, I'm not putting those two statements together, right? So one day in particular where I could really feel that ceiling, kind of had a rough day, came home, was really excited to tell her about what a crappy day I had. And all of a sudden she pulls out a pea stick. And then 4 more. And I'm like, what's with the 4 more? And she's like, I just wanted to be sure. Well, that's sure. 3 days later, I quit my job. My law practice turns 9 in August. My oldest daughter turns 9 in December. Everybody told me I was crazy. I started this conversation talking about that government class because I went to that teacher and I asked him to write me that recommendation letter to USC, and he told me no. He told me I wasn't USC material. He gave an A to my friend. I did all his work. Maybe he was USC material. When I wanted to open my own office after 3 years, everybody told me I was crazy. When I wanted to leave Arizona to go to USC, everybody told me I was crazy. When I told the dean I want to take a double load at junior college, he asked me if I was crazy. I'm not crazy. I just don't do well with the word no. I do really well with the word yes. So when Pathways, One Future I should say, my bad, came to me and asked me to give an inspirational speech, I don't know if this story is inspirational. I just know that's my story. But I know you could kind of take a book report and apply it to your own life. So if you'll just indulge me in a couple minutes, I talk about a little book report. Maybe you could take what I call the book report and apply it to your situation and pull out the same details, the same advantages that I got from this story. Because obviously, back when I was living this life, I never knew that I'd be standing here in front of a group of 10 people, 20 people, much less, 300 people talking about this? I was just living my own reality. I was just living my life. But I've come to realize that, much like my kids, when I told them I was going to be talking in front of 300 people, asked me if it was 300,000 and if I'd be the president, which, no. Why not shoot for just that much more? Like, that's what I do in everything that I do. I opened my own law practice almost 9 years ago. I got involved with Leadership Coachella Valley as a student in the class, and I would encourage all of you, when you move back or when you come back, look into Leadership Coachella Valley. It gives you a broad cross-section of the valley. I learned a lot from it. I figured I'd learn about a nonprofit to join there, and I didn't. Instead, I joined leadership as the nonprofit. From there, I got recruited to be involved in the Children's Discovery Museum of the Desert. And we're turning kind of an old desert resource into something bright and new. I'm really excited about the future there too. But if you take the book report, what I want to do is go through like the 5 W's. Remember the 5 W's? Who, what, when, where, why. Who? Who do you want to be? Who do you actually want to be? Not who does your mom want you to be. I'm pretty sure my mom wanted me to be a doctor. I hate blood. Not going to work. Who do you want to be? On Monday mornings when you wake up and you're like, I hate Mondays. If you were going somewhere else or doing something different, would you no longer hate Mondays? What would you have to do to make it so that you couldn't wait to get to Monday? I can't wait for Monday. I love Mondays. I'm not saying I hate the weekend yet. I'm just saying I don't hate Mondays. And I would encourage you to not hate Mondays. And I believe the way to not hate Mondays is to figure out who you want to be. Look in the mirror. Be honest with yourself. Who do you want to be? First, I wanted to be a USC student. Then I wanted to be a law student. Then I wanted to be a lawyer. Then I wanted to own my own law practice. It's going to change. It's going to evolve over time. Quite frankly, mine's still changing. Mine's still evolving. What? What is stopping you from being who you want to be? What is it that's keeping you doing what it is that you hate instead of doing something that you love? What are you spending your time on? What are you doing to be who you want to be? Playing Madden on PS4 or whatever? I could probably beat you. Not saying I don't do those fun things too. But do you really assess yourself? Do you really think about these things? When? When are you going to start taking those steps to be the person you want to be? Do you have to go to Arizona? Do you have to wait for a rainy day? That's what it took for me. When are you just going to say enough's enough and start doing what you need to do so that you can be who you want to be? Where? Where are you? Where are you physically? Like if you want to sell bathing suits at the beach, you probably shouldn't be in Big Bear. If you want to sell snow skis, get out of Palm Desert. Those are the obvious ones. But where are you mentally? Are you strong enough to take these steps we're talking about? Are you in a position when you're alone and no one else is there to do these things? Do you have the mental fortitude to not just say you want to be a lawyer, but to actually be a lawyer? Not just say you want to be a doctor, but to take the actual steps necessary to be those things. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. It's just not easy. And the last one is why. What's going to motivate you to do all the things you need to do to be who you want to be? To move whatever's stopping you. To get you to do it now. I don't take no's. I don't do well with no's. When I say that, I mean it. I'll give you an example. I teach the class at Cal State San Bernardino. I teach 2 classes. And I teach them because I kind of feel like being a lawyer is a little bit of a thankless profession, and I get a lot of those thank yous and greatness back from the class. It keeps me young, I think. Keeps me engaged. I mean, I think I'm kind of cool as a professor. Come on, this is your time. We talk about Lil Wayne. We talk about Drake. I even do a little dance. But it's all just to try to get through and push and push and push and push. Because that's what it's going to take. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to take it from you when you're done with school, and you come and try to take from me. It's not going to work so well. No one's giving me anything. I'm not planning on giving you anything. See what I mean? You got to sit down. You got to think about your who, your what, your when, your where, and your why. And in closing, let me just tell you the following. As an attorney, you get to learn these kind of crazy statistics. Things like no matter how much money someone inherits, the vast majority of people will spend it within 1 year, no matter how much that amount is. I mean, it's just like a crazy stat that I get to know because that's the world I live in. But a more interesting stat to me, when I get to talk to college students like this, or high school students, or realtors, is that most people are so afraid of failing, they never give themselves a chance to succeed. They're so sure they can't do it, that they have no chance. If you don't believe in yourself, how are you going to get anybody else to believe in you? If you want to live your dream, only you can make that happen. It's how it happened for me. It's how it happened for a number of successful people I have the pleasure of working with. And I can promise you, it may not be all 5 W's that you maybe need to talk about. It might just be one. Maybe you're going back to a school that you're not all that excited about. Maybe you have an idea for a business or something that you could do at night, but you're too busy. You're not that busy. You're not that busy. I bill by the hour as an attorney. My time is my money. And I still find a way to help out with Leadership Coachella Valley when I can, to be the president of the Discovery Museum of the Desert, to be a dad to 2 kids, to be a husband to a wife, to try to mentor some of the students that will take the time, their own free time to come and do this, to talk to people from One Future Coachella Valley, to have a vlog on YouTube that like 60 people watch, that I'm super worried about. But it only takes one person. It only takes one viewer. It only takes one of you to make it all worthwhile. This is called Live Your Dream. I live my dream. Go live your dream. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.